It began innocently enough, the way most unsettling tales do, in the stillness of the night, when shadows hold secrets and the ordinary becomes extraordinary. Nestled in the heart of a quiet suburban neighborhood, the residents of Willowbrook were about to experience a waking nightmare that would shatter their sense of security. It was a place where everyone knew everyone, a community seemingly untouched by the chaos of the outside world, a neighborhood where children played in the streets and the aroma of home-cooked meals wafted through the air. Willowbrook was, by all accounts, the epitome of suburban tranquility. But tranquility has a way of masking the peculiar, the inexplicable. One by one, the residents began to notice the subtle disruptions in their otherwise peaceful lives. It started with the small things, misplaced belongings, inexplicable sounds in the dead of night, and an occasional feeling of being watched. Most dismissed these occurrences as the byproducts of an imagination running wild in the stillness of the night. Then came the photographs. Mysterious images began appearing in mailboxes across the neighborhood, photographs capturing moments that defied explanation. Residents found themselves depicted in scenes that mirrored their most intimate, vulnerable moments, scenes that were only possible in the privacy of their own homes. Pictures showed them sleeping, blissfully unaware as an unseen observer documented their nightly repose. The first victim was Mrs. Henderson, a middle-aged widow known for her meticulously kept garden. A photograph arrived at her doorstep, a haunting image of her sleeping peacefully, framed by the moonlight streaming through her bedroom window. Mrs. Henderson, bewildered and terrified, showed the photograph to her neighbors, setting off a chain reaction of fear and paranoia. As the eerie photographs continued to circulate throughout Willowbrook, a sense of unease settled over the community. Panic spread like wildfire, fueled by the shared realization that someone or something was infiltrating their homes in the dead of night. The question on everyone's lips: who was the phantom photographer, and what dark purpose did these nocturnal snapshots serve? In coffee shops and hushed conversations over white picket fences, the community began to unravel the mystery. Whispers of shadowy figures and ghostly apparitions circulated, each tale more spine-chilling than the last. Every resident became a potential suspect, and every creak in the night was scrutinized with newfound suspicion. Little did they know that the true nature of the phantom photographer was far more unsettling than any of their wildest speculations. As the night approached and Willowbrook settled into a nervous slumber, the forgotten dreamer continued their nightly journey, wandering through the homes of unsuspecting residents, capturing glimpses of their deepest, most private moments. The neighborhood, blissfully ignorant, teetered on the precipice of a revelation that would forever alter their understanding of reality and the thin veil that separated the waking world from the realm of dreams. The unsettling whispers of the phantom photographer continued to weave through the quiet streets of Willowbrook, leaving residents in a state of perpetual dread. As the moon hung low in the night sky, casting an ethereal glow over the suburban landscape, more mysterious photographs found their way into the lives of the unsuspecting. Mrs. Thomas, a schoolteacher with a penchant for late-night reading, received a photograph that sent shivers down her spine. The image captured her in the dim glow of her bedside lamp, engrossed in a book, oblivious to the unseen observer capturing the moment. what disturbed her the most was the reflection in her own eye. A shadowy figure standing just beyond the frame, watching her with an intensity that transcended the photograph's stillness. The Peterson family, known for their jovial gatherings and Sunday barbecues, discovered a series of photographs strewn across their living room floor. Each picture depicted them huddled around the dinner table, sharing laughter and stories, yet upon closer inspection, the smiles of their faces seemed frozen, almost forced, as if the merriment captured was a facade concealing a deeper, unseen truth. As the phantom photographer continued their nocturnal exploits, the sense of violation within Willowbrook intensified. The Hendersons, already traumatized by the initial revelation, found a photograph showcasing their teenage daughter, Sarah. In the throes of a nightmare, the image captured her tossing and turning in her sleep, surrounded by spectral shadows that seemed to whisper secrets only she could hear. In the quaint town square, a community meeting was convened to address the escalating crisis. Concerned residents gathered in hushed tones, comparing notes and sharing their haunting experiences. The once tight-knit neighborhood now resembled a collective of individuals united by fear and uncertainty. Even the local authorities found themselves perplexed, unable to trace the origin of the photographs or identify the elusive phantom photographer. The unsettling nature of the images, however, was impossible to ignore. Each photograph seemed to carry an undercurrent of malevolence, as if the observer reveled in exposing the vulnerabilities and secrets hidden behind closed doors. As the night pressed on, Willowbrook's residents struggled to find solace in their safety of their homes. Every creak in the floorboards, every rustle of leaves outside their windows became a haunting reminder of the phantom presence infiltrating their lives. The once serene suburb now existed in a state of perpetual twilight, caught between the comforting facade of daylight and the unsettling truths revealed by the phantom photographer's nocturnal lens. Little did they know that as the town succumbed to restless sleep, the forgotten dreamer would once again traverse the ethereal realm between dreams and reality, capturing fragments of their lives with each elusive step. The photographs, now more disturbing than ever, hinted at a deeper connection between the dreamer and the dreamscape they traversed, a connection that would soon force the community to confront the blurred boundaries between the waking world and the haunting landscapes of the subconscious. The air in Willowbrook hung heavy with the trepidation as the town's once peaceful streets now echoed with the weight of collective fear. The phantom photographer's elusive presence continued to haunt the residents, leaving a trail of unsettling photographs in its wake. Yet, in this chapter of the harrowing tale, a single image would shatter the fragile semblance of normalcy that still clung to the hearts of the town's beleaguered inhabitants. It was Mrs. Ramirez, a reclusive artist known for her vivid imagination and eccentric habits, who received the photograph that sent shockwaves through the community. In the eerie stillness of her dimly lit studio, she was captured mid-stroke, brush in hand, surrounded by a canvas filled with abstract shapes and twisted shadows. However, it was the reflection in the window that left Mrs. Ramirez paralyzed with terror, the unmistakable silhouette of the phantom photographer. The figure stood just beyond the glass, a face obscured by shadows, but the mere suggestion of its presence sent a chill down the spines of all who gazed upon the photograph. Mrs. Ramirez's eyes, wide with horror, reflected the realization that the Phantom was not merely an observer, but an active participant in the captured moments, a spectral entity that existed both within and beyond the frame. As news of this revelation spread through Willowbrook, a renewed sense of panic seized the town. The once anonymous stalker now had a face hidden in the shadows, haunting the periphery of their lives. The photograph became a macabre emblem of the Phantom photographer's intrusion, an embodiment of the community's collective nightmare. Residents barricaded themselves in their homes, drawing curtains tight against the encroaching darkness, sleep became an elusive luxury as the fear of waking to find themselves immortalized in another haunting image loomed over their restless nights. The local authorities, now confronted with the undeniable reality of the Phantom's existence, intensified their efforts to unravel the mystery. Conspiracy theories flourished within the town, fueled by whispers of curses, vengeful spirits, and long-buried secrets. The Petersons, gripped by paranoia, tore apart their home in a desperate search for hidden cameras or signs of intrusion. Mr. Thompson patrolled his property with a flashlight in hand, scanning the shadows for any hint of the elusive stalker. As the community teetered on the edge of hysteria, Mrs. Ramirez, the unwitting harbinger of the Phantom's visage, retreated further into seclusion. Her once vibrant studio now echoed with the hollow sounds of abandoned creativity. In the warped reflection of her paint-splattered window, she saw not only the faceless spectre that haunted her dreams, but also the fear reflected in the eyes of the neighbors. Willowbrook, once the epitome of suburban serenity, now stood at the crossroads of reality and the supernatural. The photograph, with its chilling depiction of the Phantom photographer, became an indelible mark on the town's psyche, a symbol of the tenuous boundary between the tangible and the spectral. As the clock ticked towards another ominous midnight, the community braced itself for the next chapter in this unnerving saga, unsure whether the coming darkness would bring answers or plunge them further into the abyss of the unknown. Determined to unmask the elusive Phantom photographer, the once unified community of Willowbrook began to fracture into factions of suspicion and paranoia. Mr. Thompson, fueled by a mix of fear and defiance, decided to take matters into his own hands. Convinced that he would outsmart the Phantom, he concocted a plan to set a trap that would expose the stalker's identity once and for all. Under the veil of night, Mr. Thompson meticulously arranged a series of cameras throughout his home, strategically placing them to capture every possible point of entry. Motion sensors and tripwires were carefully calibrated to trigger the cameras at the slightest disturbance. Armed with a flashlight and a sense of purpose, he settled into a makeshift command center in the heart of his living room, waiting for the Phantom to reveal itself. As the minutes ticked away and the weight of anticipation hung in the air, Willowbrook, unaware of Mr. Thompson's ambitious endeavor, slumbered in easy unrest. Oblivious to the drama unfolding within the confines of one man's desperate mission, the dim glow of the monitors cast an otherworldly light on Mr. Thompson's determined face, etched with a mixture of anxiety and determination. Midnight approached, the designated hour when the Phantom photographer had, without fail, intruded upon the lives of the unsuspecting residents. In the hushed silence, broken only by the soft hum of electronic equipment, Mr. Thompson braced himself for the confrontation he had so eagerly sought. Suddenly, a faint crack echoed through the house, followed by the unmistakable sound of a door opening. The trap had been sprung. With a surge of adrenaline, Mr. Thompson leaped to his feet, flashlight in hand, and rushed towards the source of the disturbance. The cameras, activated by the motion sensors, flickered to life, capturing the unfolding drama in real time. The residents of Willowbrook, ensnared in their dreams, were oblivious to the impending climax of this nocturnal saga. As Mr. Thompson approached the dimly lit hallway, the tension in the air thickened. He rounded the corner, his flashlight revealing an open door leading to the bedroom, a room bathed in an eerie bluish glow emanating from the moonlit window. The trap had worked. The phantom photographer was there, silhouetted against the bedroom wall, seemingly frozen in the act of capturing another haunting image. Mr. Thompson's heart raced as he raised his flashlight to finally illuminate the face behind the elusive phantom. But as the light pierced the shadows, an unsettling realization took hold. The figure before him was not the spectral stalker he had anticipated. Instead, it was Sarah Henderson, the teenage daughter of his neighbors, clutching a camera in her trembling hands. "Mr. Thompson, I swear, I didn't mean to." The words caught in her throat as the weight of the situation bore down on her. The trap had ensnared not the phantom photographer, but a sleepwalking girl caught in the throes of her own nightmares. The cameras continued to capture the unfolding scene, transmitted the unintended consequences of Mr. Thompson's ill-fated trap to the monitors scattered throughout his home. Willowbrook, still lost in the realm of dreams, remained oblivious to the chaos that had erupted within the confines of one man's misguided quest for answers. As the truth unfolded, the community stood on the precipice of a new realization. The phantom photographer remained at large, its true identity still concealed in the shadows. Mr. Thompson, burdened by the unintended consequences of his actions, faced the consequences of his misguided attempt to confront the unknown. And in the heart of Willowbrook, the whispers of fear and suspicion deepened, casting a more profound pall over the once idyllic neighborhood. The question lingered, more palpable than ever. Who or what was the phantom photographer, and how deeply entwined were the lives of Willowbrook's residents with the enigmatic force that infiltrated their homes in the dead of night? In the wake of Mr. Thompson's ill-fated trap, Willowbrook found itself engulfed in a thick fog of tension. The unsettling events of the previous nights had left the community on an edge, with the mistrust and paranoia becoming the prevailing emotions that lingered in the air like a suffocating presence. The phantom photographer, undeterred by the failed attempt to expose its identity, continued to haunt the town, leaving a trail of chilling photographs in its wake. As midnight approached once more, a palpable sense of dread settled over Willowbrook. Residents barricaded themselves within their homes, casting wary glances at the shadows that seemed to dance with malevolent intent. The air itself felt charged with an otherworldly energy, as if the boundary between the tangible and the ethereal had become thin, ready to rupture at any moment. Mrs. Ramirez, the artist who had unwittingly revealed the phantom's visage to the community, became the unwilling focal point of the gathering storm. Her once vibrant studio now echoed with the whispers of a town on the brink of unraveling. Fingers pointed in her direction, accusing her of invoking the sinister force that had descended upon their lives. As the clock struck midnight, a piercing silence descended upon Willowbrook. The usual sounds of nocturnal life were swallowed by an ominous hush, leaving only the distant murmur of the wind as it whispered through the trees. In the shadows, the phantom lurked, poised to once again breach the threshold between the waking world and the realm of dreams. Then, as if orchestrated by an unseen conductor, the night erupted into chaos. The windows of Mrs. Ramirez's studio rattled with an otherworldly force, and the walls seemed to pulse with an ancient energy. The photographs scattered throughout the town began to flutter, each image flickering with an unsettling life of its own. The town square became a surreal tableau as the photographs merged into a haunting montage, depicting the collective fears and secrets of Willowbrook's residents. Faces contorted in terror, shadows dance with a malicious glee, and the spectral figures emerge from the depths of the images, reaching out to the living with ghostly hands. Amidst the surreal display, Mrs. Ramirez stood at the epicenter of the storm, her eyes wide with a mixture of horror and realization. The phantom, it seemed, was not an external force, but a manifestation of the town's deepest fears, anxieties, and unresolved secrets. As the supernatural tempest raged on, witness the unraveling of the carefully constructed facade that had defined their lives. The boundaries between the personal and the collective blurred, and the once innocuous photographs became a mirror reflecting the fractured soul of the community. Then, with a deafening crescendo, the storm subsided. The photographs, now mere pieces of paper once more, fell to the ground, scattering like leaves in the wind. The phantom had unveiled itself, exposing the hidden truths that lay beneath the surface of Willowbrook's idyllic exterior. In the aftermath, the community grappled with the revelation that the phantom photographer was not an external entity, but a manifestation of their own collective psyche. Mrs. Ramirez, once ostracized, became a reluctant oracle burdened with the knowledge of the town's shared nightmares. Willowbrook, forever changed by the spectral ordeal, now stood at the crossroads of redemption and damnation. The photographs, once instruments of terror, became artifacts of self-discovery, forcing the residents to confront the darkness within themselves and each other. The town, veiled in the heavy silence of introspection, wondered whether the phantom photographer had truly departed, or whether its spectral presence lingered, waiting for the next midnight hour to cast its haunting gaze upon the unsuspecting residents. The once quiet suburban neighborhood, now scarred by the twisted dance of shadows and secrets, faced an uncertain future, where the line between reality and nightmare remained forever blurred.